Hey everybody, welcome to WagerTalk.com. We're talking college football for the weekend of November 21st. Marco D'Angelo off this week. He had a prior commitment. He will be back next week. I'm Scott Spreitzer with, well, she needs no introduction. She's been with us before and been all over the networks for a few years now. She is Kelly Stewart of KellyInVegas.com and, of course, on Twitter at KellyInVegas. We've also got my Wager Talk teammate Bryan Leonard at the end of the table. And first game we're going to talk about, guys, today is going to be the Big Ten clash on the Eastern Seaboard with Indiana traveling to Maryland to take on the Terrapins. And right now, Maryland laying 2.5 to 3 points in this game. And Kelly, the first thing I thought of when I saw this game on Sunday and was going through all the games before the lines came out, is Indiana going to be able to overcome the potential mental pitfall after coming oh so close against the Wolverines?
You know, I had Indiana last week. I was really happy for them how close they did come in overtime to beating Michigan. They covered the number. That's all I really cared about. Then this line comes out and I see Maryland -3. And whenever I see a line like that, it goes, why should Maryland be favored over anybody? And I understand they're at home, but I think that the line makers do think that Indiana might fall short here. It was a big emotional overtime loss last week to Michigan, and this Maryland team has been slowly getting their act together and covering a few games. So no play for me, but man, that line sure does look fishy.
Yeah, it does. And Bryan, I'm looking at, Randy Edsall, of course, showing the door a few weeks ago for the Terrapins, but I look at Indiana, losers of 6 straight, and they're 4-6 on the season. But this team is like, that close to being 6-4 or 7-3. I mean, take Ohio State to the brink. Last week, take Michigan to the brink, and that's not it. They've had a couple of other games that have been quite close that they've been on the losing side of. But in Big Ten play, they're giving up about 6 touchdowns, about 40, 42 points per game in Big Ten action. And I'm sitting there thinking, boy, what gives? Is it going to be this horrible Indiana defense as far as points allowed per game, or is it going to be this Maryland offense that averages about 16 points per game?
Yeah, Maryland averaged 17.3 in Big Ten play. Yeah, this is a really interesting game because normally I don't pay much attention to revenge, especially when your teams like Maryland and Indiana, because they're in revenge pretty much every week. But last year, Maryland comes to the conference, so this is the first time they played, and they win 35-17 against Indiana. So now Indiana's actually in revenge against a team on their level, like a Purdue or Northwestern in some years. So I think this game means a little bit more to Indiana. You talked about it. The two best teams in the Big Ten are Michigan and Ohio State, and Indiana was right there with both of them. I take a look at this game. On the season, Indiana in Big Ten play, they're even for turnovers, which tells me they're a pretty physical team. Because when you play these teams like your Michigan States, your Michigans, your Ohio States, and you're a Northwestern, a Purdue, an Indiana, you're going to turn the ball over. Where they're even on turnovers in the season, whereas Maryland's -10 in Big Ten action, which tells me they're a more physical team. Their running game, that running back last week went nuts. And although Maryland stops the run pretty well, I think Indiana's strength against Maryland's strength is a big advantage there. And you talked about it a little bit. You talked about Maryland not scoring. We got an Indiana team who's averaging over 30 points a game in Big Ten action. When you have a team that's going to put points on the board that nobody has stopped all season long, I know Indiana's going to get their 28 points at least in this game. I'm not sure Maryland will. I know that Indiana's defense isn't that great, but I like to, both these teams, you got to give them a lot of credit. Maryland's had a lot of injuries this year, and they're still able to play competitive ball. Rutgers the same way. A lot of injuries, competitive ball. But Indiana, to me, is the team to play here. When two, I hate to call them bad teams, but when two bad teams get together, I always like to take the underdog, and many times they win straight up. I know we've done some work with VR with this sprinkle a little bit.
Sure.
I think there's a definite sprinkle here with Indiana because I think they win straight up.
You agree? I mean, I know you kind of hit it on the head where I was thinking because you got these Terrapins who are on this 4-1 ATS run, but they haven't been chalked since September 19th, and now they're in this new role. What do you think?
I kind of have to lean a little bit with Bryan here. Like I said, I'm probably have no business playing this game, but sometimes you take the better of the bad teams, and in my opinion, that is Indiana, if you just take them for face value and you're getting points. So sometimes it's not too good to be true.
Okay, well, I'm going to hide then. I'm going to let you guys kind of back Indiana, and I'm just going to pass for now. Bryan Leonard, you've got this package this weekend, 30% off any long-term package, and you've been on fire the last 6 months.
Yeah, we've had a great football season. Basketball have been, I haven't released any college basketball. I've only released 6 NBA. Starting to get into that, but football's been so good that we've been concentrating on that. And we did lose our big play last week. We had Baylor, but we went 4-1 overall on Saturday. It's going to happen. I was on the wrong side. It was clear that Baylor was the loser on there. But I really love this. Is my favorite card of the season, actually. I'm going to have a lot of plays on this weekend's card.
Outstanding stuff. He's Bryan. She's Kelly. I'm Scott. We got more to come right here at Wager Talk TV.